it takes an enormous amount of information to accurately do what? Predict. I don't know of any scientist that says that that knowledge causes that event. This is where I would mediate the sovereignty of God and freedom. God is sovereign, but God knows that, but that knowledge doesn't cause something. Well, the only analog that I think will stand up under logical scrutiny is exactly what science does. It requires information to accurately predict this result. That right? Does that ring any bells? Even in the snow? It's snowing. Good Lord. They said it was summertime. I sold my coats and my flannel underwear, and now I'm going to freeze to death just getting home. Lord, Lord. Now, nature is deterministic. Now, at that time, 18th century, what was exempt from this examination?
Ethics.
Well, ethics. What else? Uniqueness of a human being. If the universe is a machine, and we're not machines, well, we will be machines. Later, in the development of science, of course, you know that. Now, God is a debatable hypothesis because you no longer need God to do what? To explain the universe. Well, you may or may not. But here, God is debatable as science reveals more about nature, the need for God to fulfill the gaps of ignorance. See, that was the gap theory, if you know, God of the gaps. There's gaps in it, and we'll have God. But what did that unpack? We'll have that up when we come back, Christopher Columbus. Sure. We had deism. Now we'll stop on deism. Deism was the affirmation that God did create the complex universe, but he no longer has any what? Has anything to do with it. Well, see, deism, where did it happen? In Hinduism, and Buddhism, Shintoism, Taoism, Christian West. Over science. Not over something else. I can't help it. I don't mean that there's salvation in the science department of this school, but I believe that science should order the issues that we do or do not understand in this institution or any institution. I can't help it. We're not saved by science, but that's what the postmoderns said, that we're saved by science and technology and education. We no longer need God, nor the gospel, nor forgiveness of God. Forgiveness is just to accept yourself as you are. Take me as I am. Here I am, God. Take me. Yes, I'm going to get rid of you. Yes. But look at this. God fulfills these gaps of ignorance. Now notice, science will overcome the ignorance gaps.
Gaps get smaller.
And the gaps get smaller and smaller. But then what gets larger and larger? Human anxiety and frustration and despair. The human condition becomes more serious. Man is reduced to an animal, to a beast, or to a machine. Where in science, Christian West, while many churches go on preaching just like none of that's happened, they're talking to the choir. See, there's very little advancement in any choir that I've ever seen, good or bad. I'd be like talking to a tree. Please don't spend a lot of your time talking to an elephant or a telephone pole, because there's not a whole lot of advantage of that. Talk about those that shape the things that we're in. We have this problem. Then man, see, the 19th century is going to bring this machine into what? Into anthropology. You never had cultural anthropology, never had psychology in a scientific sense, never had sociology, economics till this period. Now, man, the human sin, if man's in a machine, then man, humanity, can't be anything but a what? A machine. Then you have, in educational theory, you have operant conditioning. What do? What does advertisement do, which is really operant conditioning, Pavlovian operant conditioning? And Skinner, we've been skinned by Skinner. And you know, in the 70s, child raising was spooked by Spock. And what is that? It's operant conditioning. Well, it didn't work. I already knew it wouldn't work, but you have to run that through because the church had failed. So everybody's going to take seminars on spooking Spock. You have abnormal children that are case studies for abnormal psychology and want to know how they got that way. What's their parents? If their genetics and environment. If they had different genes and different environment, they'd be what? Perfect. Yes. Then if it's perfect, you have no problem. And as we all know, we have fewer and fewer problems. Yeah, it's the omnipotent child. But the universe doesn't stay a child for how long? You can't be a child for what? Forever. Thank you very much for being. I appreciate that. I know you got things to do, but you can't remain a child forever. But what show was about being a child forever? Peter the Pan. Palmed off Peter Pan. He's a child forever. Well, see, that was a social criticism. That wasn't just a child's play. That was humanity trying to be a child forever. That's not possible. But we'd like it to be possible, because then you don't have to what? Act like all these things aren't going on. You just look like a child. Oh, Peter Pan is worth 20,000 medium sermons, 100,000 bad sermons, if they knew what it was about. Well, it's about a child forever. We can't stay a child forever. But it'd be better, because a child, even a precocious child, isn't aware of what? Very much. It's only aware, it, when I say it, I don't mean a rock or thing. A child is generally. Now, there have been precocious children, 5 or 6 or 7. But see, their world is a little bit larger than most 5 or 6, 7 children. But their world is what? Food, dry diapers, mom and dad. Maybe, if you didn't have any diabolical grandparents, maybe very limited. But you can't stay that forever. We're thrown out here into all these problems, and whoever's prepared to encounter these problems can encounter, whoever can't, or what? They're case studies for abnormal psychology. But most people in therapy, psychiatrists, technical you have to have a medical degree, psychiatrist. I've met only 2 of 100 psychiatrists that didn't need psychiatry. But it did keep them off the street and out of my hair. Now, I didn't say everybody, I said most people. The same as in counseling. Most people in counseling need counseling. They talk about non-directive therapy. I'm not here to tell you anything, but I'm here to what? Listen. We'll have a break. And if you can't come back, Chris and I, our brothers here, you'll stay, won't you? We'll have 3 or 4, we'll have a meeting, we'll have a few-minute break, and then the doors will be locked in about 30 minutes. And whoever's not here is out, that's all. Many are cold, but few are frozen. But thank you very much. Thank you. And we're taking this a little trek into the 19th century and the 20th. We can't just remain in the 17th and 18th and 19th century. But anyway, thank you. Thank you for being here. And if it's painful, just take some kind of sedative and come back. Just mollycoddle me. Because Jewel will want to know if anybody stayed.